McLeod with Resource Investing News, and here today with me at PDAC is Brent Nykoliation, Senior Vice President of Corporate Development at Energizer Resources. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Good. So Energizer recently released a bankable feasibility study for the Molo deposit. What points would you highlight for investors?
Well, first of all, the bankable feasibility is one of the most advanced things you could possibly do for a project, and it establishes your economics. And what we put out to the market on February the 5th was something that has showed that we have a very realistic and conservative economics around a project. So some of the highlights that people would like to know is what's the payback, the internal rate of return, what does it generate in MPV. So we had one of the most robust BFSs that have been put out for a graphite project, so a payback of under 5 years, a post-tax IRR, internal rate of return, about 31%, an MPV about $390 million. But the most probably salient point is what are the operating costs. And Energizer has put out one of the lowest operating costs of our peers. We're in the lowest percentile, and we have an operating cost of about $353 per ton of concentrate ex plant, which puts us in the realm of the Chinese operating costs, which is quite significant.
Okay, good. So the BFS is based on metallurgical test work completed by SGS Canada. Could you break that down in layman's terms?
Yeah, so what people always want to know about your graphite is, do you have the right type of graphite? So our project is 100% flake, and Madagascar has always been known to have in the world one of the highest quality flakes. It's been shipping graphite for over 100 years, but extremely small quantity. And Molo now is quite literally a very large project that Madagascar has not experienced in some time. The way graphite is priced is on purity and flake size. So the larger the flake, the higher the purity, the more money you would get. And Energizer has a very high percentage of large and jumbo flake, which is your premium price. So about 47% of our deposit sits in the large and jumbo. 25% of the entire project is jumbo flake, and about 80% of our project would qualify as medium, large, and jumbo, which is exactly the size you need to produce anode material, i.e. battery-grade graphite. So we have a very high distribution, and we also can get up to 98.1%, so 98% purity with just standard flotation, which is quite high.
Okay, that sounds great. One interesting thing about the BFS is that it brought a reduction in annual production from about 53,000 tons a year to 84,000. Why is that?
Well, we went from 84,000 is what we had in the P study, and we went down to 53,000 for the bankable. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do that is to have, again, our bankable was based on to have a conservative and realistic assessment to the market for the project. So we thought that even though 84 is probably a desired level to have in the next couple of years, given all the ability and demand markets for electric vehicles and consumer electronics, we wanted to make sure we erred more on the conservative side. So 53,000 to us was a number that we thought would be more realistic to the market, and yet still have the ability to go out there and provide enough graphite for what we believe, and most people would agree, is going to be a dynamic change in the demand growth for graphite, especially for electric vehicles in a couple of years.
Okay, now you mentioned that Madagascar is known for having high-grade graphite, but there is a lack of infrastructure in your area. Could you give us an update on that and tell me if the BFS addresses that at all?
Yeah, so the BFS, what we did again was we erred on making sure that everything is in there, so people can look at that and say, okay, what is the cost really to get a ton of ore out of the ground, processed to the port, and then up to a customer. And our bankable feasibility does exactly that. So in Madagascar, where we are, we have an area that is virtually perfect and ideal situated for open pit mining. So no flora, no fauna, very low population growth, but there is some infrastructure challenges. One of them is power. So this bankable actually uses the most expensive form of fuel, which is diesel generation. So we've containerized diesel is actually built into our bankable feasibility. So those numbers do include what we call to be the most conservative worst case scenario for fuel. The other side of it is the road systems there do exist. We have a Route Nationale 13, which is a very large road network, but it's dirt road that goes out to the port. The port, though, is a first world state-of-the-art port that's actually owned by Rio Tinto, and it's underutilized. And that is the port that we are using for the bankable, whereas our preliminary economic assessment had used a different port on the west coast, whereas we're now using the Rio Tinto. So that port is state-of-the-art, and the road system that's going there is currently being upgraded both by the EU as well as by the World Bank. So that road system is being upgraded. What we had done right now is the bankable looks at that road system as it is today, which is not upgraded, and even again, these are all areas that are going to be improved upon. So we see some opportunities to have our CapEx and both our OpEx lowered as a result. But for us to operate right now, it is very easy to operate where we are. And again, it has its challenges, but we are working and it's budgeted in for that.
Okay, good. Now, with the BFS in hand, where is Energizer sitting in relation to its peers?
The BFS was a catalyst for us to get out and advance our discussions, which are quite advanced in terms of our offtake potential and strategic partner meetings. We've been now out there for over 2 years with some cases with entities in Asia, United States, Europe, etc. The Bankable really was the last step for them to put some hard economics around our project in order to advance meetings. If we're going to go out there and negotiate offtake agreements, you're going to need to know what your selling price is going to be. You need to know what your cost of goods is. So this was a real catalyst for us now to be able to go out, advance these meetings, and have real economics around the project.
Okay. Now, what are the next steps going to be at Molo?
Molo, for us, it's mining permits now are again in full swing. The environmental has been started as well, so that's a natural step after a bankable feasibility. Then you move into more detailed engineering studies, and right now for us, it's full bore for internally securing those offtakes and the strategic partners. So we have really two parallels going on: is moving the mine forward, so that if we do have those investors, when we do get the strategic partner, then we are ready to go and try and get shovels in the ground as soon as we have the financing.
Okay, that sounds great.
It's a very exciting time for us. This is the year for Energizer.
Good. Okay, well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thanks. And I'm Charlotte McLeod with Resource Investing News.